Hey everyone, this is Chris Crazyhouse, and I'm back with some more Chris Crazy commentary. If you enjoy my commentaries and you enjoy seeing my artwork on this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Lots more will be coming very soon, as well as some animation as well, so I'm going to make sure that you're here for that. And if you want to follow me on my other social media platforms, the links will be in the description box for my Instagram, Twitter, and my Facebook. I'm always on there. I'm always posting on all those platforms, posting up my artwork or whatever I'm working on, and just trying to have a good time and be as positive as I can and try to keep my sanity in the insane world that we live in. Today I wanted to do my commentary on Mr. Dan Slott, who is one of the main writers over at Marvel Comics. This guy is one of the people who a lot of the fandom blames for the decline of Marvel Comics. I know, Dan Slott likes to brag about being one of the big writers and being one of the longest writers on Spider-Man. But his run on Spider-Man is not something that a lot of people want to remember. He hasn't really come up with anything that is really that decent or memorable that people will want to add to the Spider-Man lore. Like, it's not, people remember Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. People remember Stan Lee and John Romita. People remember Todd McFarlane's run on Spider-Man. No one really wants to remember the stuff that Dan Slott came up with. And, it's not just Spider-Man, but other concepts as well. But apparently Disney decided to do kind of like a little behind the scenes, and they posted it on their Disney Plus network. And they did a little behind the scenes with Dan Slott and just showing the goings on at Marvel's editorial and showing how, daily operations operate and how Dan interacts with his colleagues and other writers and artists and whatnot. And you would think that this would try to be something positive. You want to bring as much positive attention to your product as possible, but it almost wound up being almost like an expose or a hit piece on Dan Slott. And people are finding it a little funny and weird that Disney would actually do a hit piece on someone that works for them, basically. I know Marvel Comics is still somewhat of a separate entity from Disney proper, but still, it's like it'd almost be like they followed around the guys at Pixar and showed all their bad habits, and that was featured on Disney Plus. Like, you would think, why would they want to do that? Unless the conspiracy theories are right, that Disney is trying to intentionally tank Marvel so that they can just get rid of it and write it off as a loss and just keep the character IPs for making movies, animations, and whatever, right? That's the rumblings that people say out there and like the conspiracy theories you see online, but it might be actually true. Who knows, right? But getting back to Dan Slott, I know a lot of people don't like him, and not just for his writing, but also because he's a tremendously negative and ignorant person when it comes to dealing with the fandom online. Like, he's almost more known for being trashy and attacking people online than he is known for his writing. Like, he's one of those people that he'll diss the fans and talk bad about them, but when they try to criticize him or his work, he'll block them or get them banned from whatever social media platform is out there. He's one of those types, like almost like one of these troll tattletales that exist on social media. So he's almost more known for that. Like, people like him and Tom King, they're very opinionated on social media. Like, and they talk bad about their fandom, and of course they have very ultra liberal leanings, which I'm not here to endorse or tear down anyone who is liberal minded. I'm one of those people that doesn't ascribe to either side. I'm not a 100% liberal or conservative. I think a lot of those are just words, and you have people who are extremely ignorant and pig-headed on both sides, who cause a lot of trouble and do a lot of damage with their rhetoric. And most human beings are not one or the other. Most human beings, you can find a little bit of gray area in all of them. And if you just talk to people like they're people, you get a lot farther ahead than just coming into a conversation with your political ideology in tow, or just using that as a litmus test for everything that goes on around you. Especially when you're in a large corporate professional setting like working at Marvel or Disney. But, Dan ignores that because he still has a job and he thinks he's doing things his way and the right way. I mean, he's getting paid to do it, so why would he not think that is a bad thing? But yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't like his writing, and he actually got in trouble on social media for something that he wrote recently. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But back to this piece that was done about him on Disney Plus, it didn't really put a positive light on him. It made him seem almost extremely lazy, and it showcased him as almost like someone who spends all their time where they're supposed to be writing. They spend all their time on social media talking mess instead of doing their actual job. He's always late to meetings. He's late for deadlines. And a lot of the people who work with him, whether it be another artist or another writer, they wound up doing most of the heavy lifting and filling in all the blanks that he's supposed to be doing. They're kind of carrying water for him. And the excuse I see either him or other people making is that, well, he's just doing things the Marvel way. Stan Lee did the same thing, but that's not entirely true. For those who don't know, there's a way that Stan Lee kind of came up with as far as writing comics. It's called the Marvel way. Basically, what Stan Lee would do is he'd write like a rough outline, or just give like maybe some index cards or an idea of what the story for a specific comic would be. He'd hand it over to the artist and to the writer, or not the writer, but to the artist themselves. They would come up with the plots and put all the images in there, and then Stan Lee would come back behind them and fill in all the word balloons, and make sure the story matches up with what he came up with originally, right? That's what's considered the Marvel way. But you have to consider that Stan Lee at the time it was just him. Marvel wasn't the big conglomerate that it is now. Stan Lee was working pretty much by himself as a writer, and he was also the face of Marvel. He kind of made himself into a character in and of itself, almost kind of like P.T. Barnum, where he was advertising the books, talking about the books. He was doing the bullpen, like writing all the letters and responding to fan mail, handling some of the corporate business and editorial business. And also, Stan Lee had the advantage of having world-renowned, industry-changing comic creators working with him. I mean, when you're working with someone like John Romita, or you're working with someone like John Buscema, when you're working with someone like Jack Kirby, and someone like Steve Ditko, I mean, that's when you got those great creators working with you. It's easy to hand off a story to them and tell them, do what you can with this plot, and I'll come in and fill in the words later. And even sometimes people like Kirby would come up with actual dialogue as well. So that's what I'm saying. When you're working with those world-renowned creators, it's real easy to do things the Marvel way. A lot of them don't really have that luxury these days. And when you have someone like Dan Slott, who's kind of lazy and is not performing really at a Stan Lee level, and not even paying as much attention to his writing, it goes to show that it goes to show why Marvel is in the decline that it is. And a lot of people have surmised this from this little behind the scenes that they've done on Disney Plus, is that it pretty much just showcases why Marvel is the trash that it is today. Why it's not something that a lot of fandom is flocking to. In fact, more fandom is leaving. Even with all of their pandering, even with all the things that they've been trying to push into the comics, more fandom is leaving than coming in. They're not gaining any new fans whatsoever. Not young ones, not people of color, not gay and transgender, and especially with the stuff that they're doing, it's kind of making it hard for those people to even want to come in. Like I said before, there's some controversy about what Dan Slott did recently in his work with the Fantastic Four and X-Men. Apparently, he's being blamed or given the blame for creating this new plot point that Franklin Richards, the son of both of Sue Storm and Reed Richards, no longer being a mutant. So for all this time, it's been said that Franklin Richards is a mutant because he was born with those powers that he has. But now they're trying to say that, oh, he wasn't a mutant. In fact, he was just someone who his cosmic powers were so immense that he changed his own gene code to look like it was a mutant because he wanted to be special. And a lot of people in the gay, lesbian, and transgender community are upset about that because it's almost making it, because, you know, people think, you know, the whole mutant gene in the Marvel universe is almost kind of like a metaphor for the gay gene or whatever, right? That you're born this way. And by saying Franklin Richards changed his own genome and is almost like pretending to be a mutant just to be special and be considered special, that's why it's a reflection on the people who are also gay or transgender, that they're just pretending to be that. They weren't born that way. They're just pretending to be that just to get attention and be special. So a lot of those people are very upset with Dan Slott for creating something like that. Also, just the way he's rewritten a character as who's supposed to be a little bit more benevolent, like Charles Xavier, being more mean-spirited and rejecting having Franklin Richards be a part of the mutant nation. So that's the latest, and a lot of people were upset with Dan Slott about that. Now, he tried to push back like he normally does on social media, where he's mean-spirited and talks bad about the fans, but that sort of backfired on him because of the whole SJW movement. So it's funny because he's an SJW himself, but these people always cannibalize themselves. They're so caught up in movements and ideology that if one person goes off script, it's easy for them to all pile onto that person too and tear that person apart. So all around is not good for Dan Slott, even though I don't think anyone's going to get rid of him at this point in time. He's made too much. He's too much of a face at this point, and I don't know if even this will tarnish him enough for Marvel to kick him to the curb, unless they replace him with someone better and someone who has a little bit more sense. But at this point, I don't think Marvel even wants that, or I don't think Disney wants that. I should rephrase that. Disney doesn't want that. I think Disney would just be just as happy if Marvel faded into the ether, and like I said before, they just kept the IPs to do with whatever they please. I mean, you guys let me know how you feel about it in the comments section, and you know, you can discuss it, and we'll discuss it on my next art blog where we can talk about it, and I'll be doing some drawing or whatever, and we can discuss it in the chat. You guys let me know. Anyway, Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.